Okay, welcome to Algebra 2, Unit 10 and 7b. This is Shift Happens. It asks you the very first thing on this page, down at the bottom on page 4, Shift Happens. I'm asking you to complete number 4 through 7 on the transformation activity pages, and then copy the function equation from each activity section that causes the graph to shift in that way. So we're looking for shifts to the left, up, right, or down. So I'll do the first couple with you and then you can finish these up. Let's go first to the square root transformation page. Let's just start with number 4. Number 4, we need to add 2 inside of that square root. So you actually have to go and add it to the negative 4. Negative 4 plus 2 would be a negative 2. We can't take a square root of a negative number and get a real answer. So we have to put it undefined. Negative 2 plus 2 would be 0. Square root of 0 is 0. Negative 1 plus 2 would be 1. Square root of 1 is 1. 0 plus 2 would give a square root of 2. Not sure what that is. We'll look it up on a calculator if we need to. Square root of 1 plus 2 would be 3. Again, we'll have to look that on a calculator if we need to. Square root of 2 plus 2 would be 4. So that is 2. The square root of 4 is 2. Square root of 2 plus 4 would be 6. That's not a perfect square, so we may have to look it up on a calculator. Let's see if we can see what it's doing. So we come over here. Negative 4 is undefined. Negative 2 is 0, so at negative 2 we start at 0. At negative 1 it's 1. And then we go down. The next one that really makes sense to us is 2 is 2. So it looks a lot like this parent graph, but do you see how it shifted 2 units to the left? So down here under description you'd write shift 2 units left. Now in addition to that, I've asked you on this previous page over here, when they shift to the left or right or wherever they're shifting, that you would be so kind as to write it in the notes. So tell me, back here on this previous page, that this equation, the x plus 2, right there caused a shift to the left. So under left, you would put y equals square root x plus 2. That caused a shift to the left. Now we go back to the graphs and we go to this problem. Negative 4 minus 2 would be a negative 6. We can't do a square root of a negative number on a real number line, so that would be undefined. Square root of negative 2 and negative 2 would be negative 4. That's undefined. Square root of negative 1 and negative 2 is negative 3. That's undefined. Square root of 0 minus 2 is undefined. Square root of 1 minus 2 is negative 1. That's undefined. But 2 minus 2, we're finally at 0. Next one. We have 4 minus 2 equals square root of 2. Not quite sure what that is. I'll skip up 2 more because I want to try to get to that 4. 6 minus 2 square root would be 4. Square root of 4 is 2. So we move over to the positive 2, put a dot. At 4 is the square root of 2. That's kind of hard to plot. At 3, it actually would have been 1, because 3 minus 2 is 1. Square root of 1 is 1. And then over here at 6, it's up to 2. So if you look at this graph and the parent graph, you notice that the starting point moved over 2 to the right. So this had a shift 2 units right. So what you need to do is come back to this page back here. It said when it shifts right, write it in here. So we have y equals square root x minus 2. And you'll just keep adding your equations that cause left-right shifts right there. Here we do number 7. Now we take the square root value and then we subtract 2. We cannot take a square root value of these negative numbers and get a real answer, so we put undefined. Square root of 0 is square root of 0 is 0. Minus 2 would be a negative 2. Square root of 1 is 1. Minus 2 is negative 1. Square root of 2 is a little bit difficult to do, so we're going to leave it for now, see if we can graph without it. Square root of 4 is 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. Let's see what we get here. At 0, it's negative 2. At 1, it's negative 1. At 4, it's 0. So compared to the parent graph being like this, and now the graph here, what we're seeing is that we've taken that parent graph and shifted it down to. Shift down 2. We skip number 6. Any predictions what this graph would do? If we plug in the points, square root of a radical negative 4 is undefined. Square root of a radical negative 2 is undefined. Square root of a negative 1 is undefined. Square root of 0 is 0. Plus 2 would be 2. Square root of 1 is 1, plus 2 is 3. Square root of 2 is an irrational number, and so we'll skip it and see if we need it. Square root of 4 is 2. Two plus 2 is 4. So that was a mistake. We almost forgot to add that 2 in there. So that would be 4. So we have undefined, undefined, undefined. At 0, 2 is our starting point. 0 would be on the x-axis, up to 2 would be right there. I almost started to mark this over here, and that would actually be 2, 0, not 0, 2. Then at 1 we go up to 3, and at 4 we go up to 4. So we have that curve from the parent graph has now been moved up 2. So we go over to the notes and we say, well, when we had y equals square root x plus 2, it went up. When we had y equals square root x minus 2, it went down. So if you come down into the next section on square roots, it says highlight which value is causing the left-right shift in these graphs. Well, the left-right was underneath the radical. The left right is underneath the radical with the x. So when we go to the square root, we simply highlight that h. Now it asks highlight what part causes the up down. We notice it's the number after the square root. That seems to be influencing an up or down shift. So looking at our formula, that would be the K value for that one. Now for the rest of the homework tonight, I want you to go ahead without the video support. I think that you can do this. What you will do is go ahead and finish these graphs. It will be number 4, 5, 6, and 7. Then it will be numbers 4, 5, 6, and 7 on the next one, and 4, 5, 6, and 7 on the next one. You're looking for a trend of what those do. And on the last one, it's 4, 5, 6, and 7. See if there is a trend of what they happen to do. The very last thing that I want to do with you is the rational expression graphing. Actually, I'll do that on another video.